Good evening and namaskar, everyone. My name is Shakil. I welcome you all to this webinar on behalf of Mind Mingle. So, this is the 14th episode of our webinar series on meaningful living, learning, and livelihood. We will have the last and the final episode of this series the next week. This is the second last one, and we will close this series for this year. And then we will come up with probably next theme. So, the topic of today's webinar is why do we experience pain and misery? As you know, this webinar series will be facilitated by Gopalan sir, and along with Gopalan sir, we have two panelists who will initiate the dialogue, inquiring further into the questions and sharing their perspective on the topic. So our first panelist is Mrs. Priyanka Gulati. Priyanka ji, systemic thinker, a principal of Evergreen Public School, Delhi, is sincere, self-motivated, compassionate, and a complete people's person. For her work, she has won many prestigious awards, significant ones being State Teachers Award in the Principals category by the Directorate of Education in the Uttarakhand Ratan Award, and the Uttarakhand Ratan Award organized by Principals Progressive Schools Association in collaboration with Times of India. Her inner calling in looking for something beyond the world of hardcore logic and analysis marked her foray into understanding that happiness is an inside job and how the practice of mindfulness can help one to be in a state of peace by being in here and now. As a certified mindfulness coach, happiness coach, and international Heal Your Life workshop leader, NLP practitioner, she inspires people to live an empowered life. So welcome, ma'am. And then we have second panelist, Ms. Shalini Nambiar. Shalini ma'am has over 26 years of rich experience in education and has been associated with various names like Vibgyor Group, GD Goenka Public School, the Heritage School, Excelsior American School, and Gens Education. Her unconventional vision and wisdom find roots in her attempt to break stereotype that education is pinned down with. The outcome, she believes, is not knowledge, but a stack of degrees that provide employment. And this is the domain where she has worked intensively to bring about a change, moving ahead with the belief that education, when imparted in its true spirit, has the power to change the world. She has recently founded her own company named SN Education Consultant in December 2019, where she helps educators and institutions with her vast experience. Welcome, ma'am. And we will start the session with Gopalan sir's talk, and then our panelists will join. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gopalan sir. Over to you, sir.
Namaste, good evening, and thank you, Shakil. And I think the introduction to the panelists already has given, in a sense, the answer to this question. Why do we experience pain and misery? If we can understand what is mindfulness and why it is important, then I think we have addressed this whole question. So let me take it through. Why does it connect up with mindfulness and why is it so important? That's really what I have to explore today. So pain, suffering seems to be the lot of all human beings. And what is pain essentially? It's an unpleasant bodily sensation or a complex of sensations that can cause discomfort, which ranges from mild to severe, and along with it brings emotional distress. It's this combination, discomfort and emotional distress, which is what we really imply by suffering. So we first need to understand the process of pain itself, the physiological process of it. Pain can be physical in origin. Pain can be entirely psychogenic. That is entirely at the level of the psyche only and nothing to do with the physical. So is there such a thing as physical pain alone? Becomes the first question that we need to investigate. Because we must see that in this entire medical and pharmaceutical industry, painkillers, pain relievers, pain suppressors is a very, very dominant part of that business. And that tells you how big a market there is for pain management through chemical means. Yeah. So if you look at the process of physical pain, there are really three stages in it. Is there not? First, there is the sensory stage where the pain sensation arises. Then there is the cognitive stage, which takes that signal and communicates it through the nervous network. And then there is the emotional stage of actually feeling pain. Now, the sensory stage begins when there is a threat of damage to a cell. And everything really starts from the individual cell. Now, the threat of damage to a cell is that its oxygen supply will be cut off or its food supply will be cut off. Even the threat of this is serious enough to warrant a warning. And the warning comes in the form of a sensation which we label as pain. So the nerves have free endings at all the sensory organs, eyes, nose, ears, skin, tongue, which are able to feel this. There are also free nerve endings inside the body, which in medical terminology are called nociceptors. And these nociceptors can sense discomfort. So when a cell is even gets a threat, it releases a whole lot of histamines and prostaglandins, which reduce the sensitivity level. And therefore, these nociceptors pick up the senses very easily and communicate it. The signals then go through the nervous network, through the spinal cord to the brain. It is the brain that imagines pain, right? The pain is origin is in the individual cell, but the recognition and imagination of pain is in the brain alone. Now, we have a very deep conviction that pain equals the damage caused, but that's a very false conviction. Pain doesn't have to equal the damage at all. Sometimes there is very little damage, pain levels are very high. And sometimes very, very high level of damage, but pain is very easily manageable. So there is a simile of a fire alarm. A fire alarm doesn't detect fire. It detects smoke and it detects heat. So even if you burn toast on a gas stove, the fire alarm will go off because there is smoke, right? So this is all these signals are. They are fire alarms. How you respond to the alarm and what assessment you make of the alarm, that is what assessment the brain makes, decides the reaction and response. So the response to these fire alarms can be affected by a series of external conditions. One is the intensity of the signal itself. Then there's the mood, the prevailing mood of the person. Then there is environment around, stress levels, memory of previous experiences, personal beliefs. All these go to translating that signal to the feeling of pain. So all physical pain is really physical and psychological. You can't, the body by itself cannot feel pain. So management of pain is built on this premise. The body itself cannot feel pain. Therefore, what is the management of pain? Pain comes because of inflammation of a cell. So the only cure really for pain is the inflammation should be healed. But inflammation doesn't heal in an instant. It takes its time, maybe days, maybe weeks. Until then, you need some relief from the discomfort of the pain. So all pain management is only to provide this discomfort. So at first level, you try to block the level of sensitivity in the cells, which the nociceptors, which sense pain. The next level is block the transmission. That is what all analgesics do. Next is try to block the transmission through the nervous system up the spinal cord. And that is why you must have, maybe you have experienced also, minor surgeries which can be done under local anesthetic. surgeries which can be done under spinal anesthetic where you are conscious, but you don't feel the pain. And then there is the general anesthetic where consciousness is forcibly suppressed and you go into a state which is akin to coma. And in some of those general anesthetic procedures, you may even be required to be given oxygen because your body's breathing system may not work. That's the level to which you suppress the consciousness. Then there is mood and pain. We all know that if we are feeling sad, we will tend to feel pain much more. But if you are very happy and joyous, you don't feel the same pain as much as you would have felt otherwise. Then there is memory. If you have, as a child, been to a dentist and had a very painful extraction, next time, even the thought of sitting in the dentist chair will heighten up your sensitivity to the possible pain. And there may be actually no pain in the whole process. So all this has resulted in one truism being stated. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And that's a very interesting statement to look at, because what it is saying is the body must undergo inflammation, degradation at some point. You may fall and hurt yourself, or even naturally, cells may die. Therefore, pain is inevitable. But is suffering inevitable? And it seems that suffering only begins when we resist the pain. Now, we may say that it's the natural instinct to resist anything unpleasant. But we don't resist anything pleasant. In fact, we want something even more of it. And this in the Indian context is called as raga and dvesha, wanting more of the pleasant and avoiding the unpleasant. So both cause pain actually, if you notice. It's not just resistance to the unpleasant, but even the demand for more of the pleasure is also the same movement of pain. So the Buddhists have an expression which meets this, and that's where I think mindfulness comes. Equanimity. To be the same, whether it is painful or pleasant. Why should one get affected by that sense? Can we be equanimous? We can't be equanimous that we can't be mindful that we are equanimous, but we can be mindful that we are trying to move away. And just watch that moving away, which comes to really being alert of one's own feelings and emotions as they arise, without attempting to suppress them. It is the suppression resistance which aggravates the pain, does it not? Then you come to this whole range of psychogenic pain, tension, headaches, migraine, some types of back and stomach pain. They have no apparent cause in the body. But the pain is severe. There's nothing false about it. For the person who's experiencing it, he or she knows the torture of that pain. But it's entirely caused in the mind. And therefore, the cure for that is extremely difficult because the cure is only in the mind. No amount of medication will actually help you. So, and it is that kind of psychogenic pain which really gives you this crippling, debilitating, draining, and wearing emotion, which, and that is aggravated by fear, the fear of possible future pain. And fear magnifies this apprehension. So very clearly, all suffering is in the thought alone. And that is why pain is inevitable, but suffering is an extra, an optional extra, which we sign up for. And therefore, we are always empowered not to sign up for it or let go of it. And I think that's where this whole understanding of mindfulness comes. Can one be mindful to what is motivating us to move away from something unpleasant? What is motivating us to want more of something which is pleasant? So this misery is the feeling of great physical and psychological discomfort. And it generally, it comes from a desperate need, privation, poverty, and we associate it with the core essence of it being poverty. You don't have enough food, you're miserable condition. We think that is deprivation. But affluence can bring its own isolation and deprivation. And I think that is the message of that Maida's story. We've all read it as a child. Whatever he touched, he turned into gold. We don't really see the suffering in that. When you can't eat anything, when you can't drink anything, because whatever you touch turns to gold. So what good is that gold? And that's a different form of suffering. So suffering is not restricted only to those who are in deprived economic conditions. Affluent conditions can bring its own suffering. So is it not that I, me, mine must lead to pain and suffering? And therefore, the only real addressing of the cause of pain and suffering is to watch why is it that this I, me, mine is allowed to dominate the scene? Who asked it to dominate? So that's really the question. Pain is inevitable. Is suffering an optional extra that we have signed up for? That's my question.
Priyanka ma'am, Shalini ma'am, who would like to begin?
Okay, Gopalan sir, it was really nice hearing your thoughts and trying to understand, where you came from, and you beautifully explained, what pain is all about. And I loved your line that pain is, of course, optional, and I fully second it because, one has experienced a lot in one's life. And the sad part is, I mean, especially if I talk about the education sector, we do not teach kids. We talk about mindfulness, but there is no mindfulness in the classroom. The teachers are not mindful. The pressure is so much on the curriculum that when we grow up as adults, we actually, like, I'll tell you, when you spoke about the dentist, I mean, I was laughing because I have a huge problem with my teeth. And I'm so scared that the minute I go to a dentist, I tell her, you give me anesthesia, before you open my mouth, because the pain it's just in the mind. I may not be feeling it. And when she asked me, are you feeling something? I'm not feeling any pain, because I think it's very important that we need to, dissociate ourselves from the pain and understand that pain and misery is part of life. We are going to face it. Nobody can escape that. But I think what is important is what you said very nicely, that how do we handle it? How do we handle that pain? I mean, I want to share one very beautiful story which I read, that there is an invite to the school students that we are going to show you an award-winning movie. So all these children are called to the auditorium. This was part of one of the exercise in an Australian school where I was there. And I was amazed at the way teachers conducted this class. So the children, gathered in the auditorium, and they said, this is a beautiful 10-minute award-winning film which you're going to see. So all the children were very excited. And they put up on the screen, we were also sitting, there was just white. The screen was absolutely white. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed, 3 minutes passed, 8 minutes, there was nothing else. So we all were wondering, what the hell are they showing? They were saying award-winning film, and this is just a blank screen they are showing. And then the camera shifted to a guy who's in the hospital, who's totally immobilized, whose hand, body, nothing is working except his eyes. And then the principal came and she said that you couldn't see the white screen for 8 minutes. This guy can only see this for his entire life. So it's about how we perceive pain, how we accept it, how we, condition ourselves. And I think what you spoke is beautiful, because I think it's just a state of mind. I mean, I had something called septicemia, and I was wheeled into the ICU with septic shock. I was in too much pain. I don't really know, but I wrote a beautiful article when I came out about my experience in the ICU. And it was a fun article, like what all I saw and what was happening. So I think it's about your mental frame of mind. Also, sir, I would like to add, it changes with age, as you grow older, because like now I feel I don't feel that pain so much, which I felt when I was younger, because with life experiences, you've experienced so much pain that you become actually numb. Your body is like, so I just wanted to add that. I thought it was beautiful what you said. Thank you so much, sir. Priyanka, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. So, sir, I am full with questions, So my mind is like the moment you are saying that pain is inevitable. Yes. But then at the same time, how do we elevate suffering? It's optional. I know every one of us knows that it's optional, but how do we elevate it? Question is this, that it was very nice to read my profile. I'm a mindfulness coach and but question is this, that when actual situation comes, recently, a few days back, my father moved away. Now, few months, I would say. And I was prepared because he was 85. I was prepared that someday he has to move on. Practicing meditation, practicing all these things, I knew that this has to happen ultimately, Ultimately, today or tomorrow, he has to move. Nobody is immortal. But still, it was so painful. Like, I always took death by stride. But then when that moment came, when he was slipping from our hands, couldn't avoid that pain, couldn't avoid that suffering also. There is still, like, when I think and sit and think about him, after practicing, I'm always putting question on myself, that after practicing so much, I know the art of disassociation also, but still, till date, I cannot disassociate myself. So it is optional. Suffering is optional, but how do we do that? That is my question to you. First question, in fact. Then I have another question in my mind, sir. So I would like to ask you that.
The first response that I would like to make is, isn't prevention the first step? Before we get into suffering, isn't prevention the first step? I mean, the most intelligent step, right? So, if you look at prevention, I mean, Shalini ji talked about education. Just imagine the pain of that child in the class who is singled out and told, you're 40 out of 40, you're the 40th ranker, you're at the bottom, there are 39 above you. That child is what that child is. But how insensitively we have come in and created a grading system which is purely comparative. And what is the purpose of that? We want him to say, okay, somehow you become from 40 to 39, 39 to 38. That means go on top of somebody else. Make somebody else 40. Right? So, are we training them to get into suffering from a very early age? And then we say, well, that's the system. Where's the way out? What else can you do? And then we rationalize all that. So, beginning with the prevention there, right? We come to the next thing that you pointed out, that however much you practice and however detailed the method, that doesn't ensure that you have got it, right? That individual getting it is the individual journey. And there's a very beautiful story in Buddhism about this. So during the Buddha's time, there was one trader who, the Buddha was talking in Patliputra, that's Patna, and this man used to go up to Punjab and back 2 or 3 times a year. So one day in the Sangh, the Buddha asked him, so you go up to this place in Punjab and back so frequently, you must be knowing the way very, very well. He said, yes, sir, I do. So you must be knowing how far to go each day, where to stop, where to take a shelter, which river to cross, where to cross it. You must be knowing all this. He said, yes, sir. Would you be able to give the complete directions, how to get to Punjab and back to this other person sitting next to you, he said, yes, I will be able to give you that. Then the Buddha asked him, so this person to whom you have given the directions, has he now understood what the journey to Punjab and back is? He says, no. He has got the information from me. But until he actually does the journey, he will not get that experience. Right? So there are umpteen methods given that you meditate this way, you focus this way, you do this way to alleviate suffering. But until one has gone through it and pointed out what you said, that despite all this intellectual preparation, when that actual challenge is thrown to you, that is when truth hits you, and that's your journey. Right? So this comes to a very, very fundamental concept in education, which we don't really ask. Does teaching result in learning? Or teaching and learning are completely different journeys. Learning happens in spite of teaching. Learning happens because of teaching, but we really can't correlate where it happened. They have different journeys. Therefore, why do we teach? In the sense, why do we instruct all the time? See, all the methods that we do are only instruction. Do we create an environment where we say, look, there is some safeguard, so if you fall down, we are here to protect you, but you have to take the journey. So the only way is to get that experience. There is no other way. Now, how many such questions do we bring into the young person as part of education and even explore this intellectually? Or we go on building these bubbles outside, and the bubble wall becomes thicker and thicker, and you insulate yourself more and more. Is he ready then to face it when suddenly it comes? So that is what I meant by prevention. Can we see what you said is that you pointed out that through all your meditation practice, you knew that one day the father had to go, right? But if you are looking at a plant and insects every day, you realize that every living creature undergoes that. It's a cycle of life. And we say our normal human life is 100 years. These rain insects which come up, after one heavy rain, they come out from the hole, fly around, in a few hours they are gone. That's their lifespan. Now, do they think they have a short lifespan? For them, that's their entire life. So can we live each moment, because we don't know how long we have left, can we live each moment and make the best use of it? Instead of wasting it away on comparison and moods and feeling that I haven't done this or I haven't lost, what a waste.
So may I ask you one thing in addition to what Priyanka said? So what I have felt, what you said is absolutely correct, prevention. I mean, I lost my family one after another, suddenly, like totally mentally at that time, whatever you may say, it's very difficult to accept. So that's why I said I've become numb now to all pain, because, you've experienced all that. But I still feel when somebody is in pain, because I find, I mean, that's where I want your opinion. Some people are too much in pain. Some people take it so happily. You are teaching a class. I'm talking about children. So you're telling them, taking life skills or whatever you're telling them. But some children, despite your teaching, are not able to accept the pain. And some children take it up beautifully. Like when you're running, I mean, I always believe that jogging initially, when you jog for 15 minutes, it's painful. You feel the pain. But eventually the pain disappears, because as you start practicing, you can do half an hour, you can do 40 minutes. So why is it so that some people I find around ourselves, I mean, I don't know, but I feel life is very painful for them, despite them being such wonderful people. And they'll never show you. They are the ones who will carry that smile, but inside they're all totally broken and shattered. What should you do? Because you want to help them.
Right. So
Yes.
what you said makes it very clear that you haven't become numb. Right? See, because of your experience of a very painful series of events, you are more empathetic towards pain in others.
Yeah.
So that's not being numb, that's being sensitive,
Sure.
right? So sensitivity is not something we can cultivate in somebody else. It's something that grows inside. And life provides you enough opportunities and experiences to become sensitive. But see our natural responses. This is something that always hits when I go. You know, at these since the last 15 or 20 years, we have only air-conditioned cars now on the road, right? And we say, well, pollution outside, you have to wind up and drive in an air-conditioned car, right? So when the car stops at that traffic signal, immediately there are children, old people, everybody coming around car to car to car in that 90 seconds waiting for the signal to turn, right? And it's an air-conditioned car, windows are all closed. When somebody comes in, you just turn this side. It doesn't take much effort to take a coin and put it, if that's all you can do at that moment. It doesn't take effort to do it. But somewhere we tend to shy away, right? And this is where I feel that our whole culture here, particularly urban culture, is making it worse. See, we may have been a very casteistic society. I don't think that has changed in any way, right? We will not handle our own garbage, right? Even in a classroom, right? There are very, very few schools which say, before we start the class, children will take the broom and sweep the class because we want to start in a clean place. That's the job of the maid. That's what we are paying fees for. This is the attitude that you come from. So you only build up the wall of insensitivity. So when Mahatma Gandhi talked of, as part of that routine, cleaning toilets, he wasn't talking of cleaning the kind of toilets that we use today. Those were the days before sanitation came in. Cleaning toilets means actually carrying that night soil and throwing it out, which was a job left only to certain human beings, which is why he came from that. So we may repeat what he's saying, but I don't see us bringing this anywhere. So somewhere, that is where I was talking of this bubble, right? You just have to open your eyes as there is enough opportunity outside to see. It's just that your circumstances have put you in a situation where you don't have to face it. That's all it is. Why did I get that circumstance? Why was I born in this place and this time with this kind of affluence that I'm sheltered? You never ask these questions. So can we at least start asking the questions at a very young age? And this is where I think the epics of India have enormous value. See, in our, particularly the English medium education, we have left out Indian languages itself as second language and third language in one corner there. Anybody who comes through English medium school can't speak any other language after class. They can't think in any other language after class 10. So there is very little association with the epics and the Puranas. But they are all only stories to keep pointing out to you that you are, for some reason, where you are not exposed to all that misery. Next moment, you may be a little humble. This is what I'm telling you. You don't know what is waiting for you next corner. But we try to give the assurance all the time. So what are we doing? That is what I meant as prevention.
And so, what do you want to say? Does all the misery that we carry come from the comparison that we have learned or we have been like taught? Because pain is, of course, inevitable, and it is good as well. Because if I'm feeling pain, it is for a reason, because I have to survive. I won't know, otherwise I will die, right? And even emotional pain. So it is also somewhere like killing me. So I know that it is emotional pain. So I have to prevent. I have to save myself. But the misery that we carry, let's say, if I have a small house and I feel I'm in misery, just because I see somebody else having a bigger house. Otherwise, there is no bigger or there is no smaller, right?
That's it. See, if you are in the corporate world, there's a very emphatic lesson that comes to you, particularly in the last 10, 12 years, from the time these Wall Street business zoomed up. Once a year, they have this annual bonus time. And the bonus is in millions of dollars. So you are called to that room, and then you are told you have done very well, 2 hours of talking, and then say this is your bonus, and you're practically walking on air until you go back and find the fellow sitting next to you has got a bigger bonus. Then this bonus has no value. Your emotions take over. Right? So that's right. It's why are we so driven by comparison? I am what I am. It's only in comparison that I am dull or intelligent, happy or sad. Otherwise, I am what I am.
Sir, but comparison is something which is such an integral part of the Indian system, which is very sad, and which is one thing as an educator I've been trying to fight. You're trying to tell the teachers don't compare, you're trying to tell the parents don't compare, because right from the time you're in nursery, you are being compared. So by the time you're in grade 12, you're so used to that culture that you yourself become like that. You're mentally just comparing yourself, which is very sad. And it's much later in life, you realize this is not it. By the time your prime age is over, I'm being honest. I mean, when I was 30 and when I took up a role as a school director, I used to compare myself. I used to say, oh my God, she has won 10 awards. Why haven't I got it? I'm being honest. But as you grow older, you realize the futility of comparison. So I want to understand, it's a very important point which you brought up.
I would like to add, sir, here that basically in our education system, we do not create win-win situation for child, So what we have been doing in junior classes, when there is a competition, we make everybody a winner. But gradually, sadly, because we are a part of a system, when it is junior classes, we are making everybody a winner. But gradually, I am aware that there should be no comparison, but as I'm aware, even my awareness doesn't help me, but I create myself knowing everything, being an educator, understanding that comparison is bad. It leads us to such a situation that we are left with no other choice but to create that situation where there is a comparison, because our societal system is such that we are born to create that situation. If we are not creating that situation, we are catering with the public, we are dealing with the public, we are handling parents. So the mindset, shifting that frame of a mindset becomes really, really challenging as an educator. So my question along with hers is that how do we shift that mind frame of a society that everybody is a winner at the end of a day? So to change system, it becomes important that we need to change a mindset altogether.
And sir, if I may just add one point, because it's like really burning in my head since morning. Today's newspaper, 4 colleges say 100% marks for admission.
Yes.
I mean, come on, me and Priyanka, what can we do? We are telling kids, no, you're fine, you're doing very good. Here, the parents will come and box. I mean, Priyanka is now heading a school. I'm sure a grade 12 parent will come and tell her, what, ma'am, why are you telling my kid good? He needs to get 100% to get into LSR. I mean, that's not fair. That's just not fair. So we are in a world where we are like, I think we have two faces. We are wearing a mask. We say something, we do something, sir. It's a very big challenge. Yeah, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So if I start very simply, I think the problem comes because we have separated spiritual education from other education. And spiritual education is for you when you become 60 and you are retiring, right? In school, we go more practical things to address. Delhi University admission, that's more practical for us, right? Can you separate the two? This is the first question. The second thing is, the instrument which we are operating with most of the time is thought and intellect. And thought and intellect works only by comparison. There is no other way of thinking, right? That doesn't mean you discard thought. The intellect is the tool which the human has. But today the tool has taken over the human being. Is the human being only the intellect? So empathy, a feeling of pain for others, that doesn't come from the intellect, right? So this is what we are, the whole intent of this webinar, we're asking, look, can intellect be in its place? It's a very valuable tool. It needs to be sharp. We need to know how to ask critical questions, right? But at the end of it, it's a tool. Tool is meant for to be used for a purpose. You are not just the tool. What is that other side of you? Now, somewhere, doesn't that have to be integrated into the education? It can't be kept outside the classroom. And this is where this whole divisive approach of subject specialities and right, all that boxes you in. So curriculum is, I have to teach you LCM today. That's all. I don't have to do anything else. Right? Whereas if there is anything a teacher has to contribute, it is this integrated approach. But then that raises a very basic question. Can you communicate something which you yourself don't have? First question. Second question is, can you prevent yourself from communicating something which is just part of you? So if you are competitive, if you feel I have to grow, I'm just a teacher here today, I have to reach that level, then in your interaction with anybody, colleagues or students, are you not going to pass on this burning ambition that is there in you? Inevitable. So it comes down to beginning with yourself. Now, we have this tendency to say this is the problem of society. But which comes first? Does society come first or do I come first? Obviously, I come first. So what I am, that is what society is going to be. Because society is my relationship to the world outside. If I am not in that race, I'm going to relate to you very differently.
Beautifully.
Sir, I will be going now, little deviating from the topic which we are discussing, but very much a topic, but this discussion, because this is a quote which came in front of me 2 days back. It says, when pain is gone, life takes its place. So my question is, that is this, since 2 days, this is running in my mind, that as per my personal experience also, I have experienced myself also that when I have gone through a certain level of suffering, life opens doorways for you. So is it going through that pain, that suffering, is it so important for us that that's what is the, when life opens the doorways for you, that opening through pain, is it that important that we have to go through a pain? Is it the way of the universe, or what it is that we have to, why it's happened? Because this is my personal experience. My doorways open through pain. So that's, and I personally feel that so many of this is there. So this is one question which was very much in my mind. I would like to know from you.
Right. If you attend a 10-day Vipassana program, I don't know if you've been to a Vipassana program. It's a program where from morning to evening, you only sit and watch your breath, nothing else, right? And you're given a cushion, food is provided, you're a bhikshu for those 10 days. No talking to anybody, you just stay with yourself. And after the third or the fourth day, this is Satyanarayan Goenka, and he gives you instructions at the beginning of every 1 hour. It's not that you just sit on your own quietly. So the fourth day, what he tells you is, now for 1 hour, take a very comfortable position, any way you like, any position you like. Take a comfortable position and then decide that you will not change that position for 1 hour. Right? So you decide your comfortable position and you sit down whichever way you like. And the moment you have started, the arm starts to pain, the knee starts to pain, right? So you have a lot of doubts on this. And what he does is in the evening, he has a 1 hour talk where he actually addresses all these questions which came into your mind. He's done so many of them that he knows the questions which are raised at this time. The challenge is, what he's saying is very interesting. He's saying, look, your knee is hurting very badly. You just feel you have to stretch that leg at that point. So at that point, just watch the knee. Where is the pain? Is it on the surface? Is it deep inside? Is it in the muscle? Is it in the bone? Just watch it, right? And then what is going to happen if you don't change your position? Is your knee going to explode? What is going to happen? Just watch. And when you actually start doing this, after 35 minutes, you come back and realize, my God, where was I? Where did that pain go? I didn't move my leg, but where did that pain disappear? So you actually experience that all that was only the trick of the mind. Right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to do this. What I'm only trying to point out is the way we are moving, we are reducing the level of discomfort that we experience. I came to Delhi first, I think around 1974 or 1975. At that time, air conditioners were for very affluent families, right? Others didn't have air conditioners. And you know what the North Indian summer is like. So people had the desert coolers, they would put the khaskhas 30, sprinkle water on it. But everybody managed the summer. Nobody really complained about the summer, although the temperatures were the same. It's not that global warming was any less at that time. Now you find air conditioners even in the little juggy, because it's less than 10,000 rupees, you can get an air conditioner, right? So when you get used to that level of comfort, what happens? Your level of tolerance for discomfort becomes less. You just have to take a walk out into a village and, mosquitoes are coming here, our skin is reacting and we need the odomos. But there are the people living there. They live amongst those mosquitoes. Their immunity, their tolerance is much higher. No, in our culture, are we bringing down the levels of our tolerance? By becoming so and so protective, we must have only pure oxygen to breathe, a dust-free atmosphere inside the bubble. Then the moment you go out, you react violently. So somewhere, how do you get immunity? Only by exposing yourself to the disease. How do you get tolerance? Only by experiencing the discomfort. Not all of it, but at least gradually, and then to ask, why is it a discomfort? Okay, it's hot. So what is the discomfort? Right? Because the discomfort is a state of mind. So somewhere I think this is the problem of affluence. See, we've come from families which didn't have too much of affluence. Now, when you get the affluence, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to get all those things which the affluence has. Otherwise, what's the point of being affluent? But that becomes the trap for the children that we have. So our success is the burden on the head of that child. Right? In fact, you look at their future, it's going to be worse than what life has been for us. So to have all that affluence and then not to have benefits of it, that requires tremendous discrimination to hold on and live that way. But the way we live is what we are going to communicate. We are only going to communicate from our living, not from our ideas.
Absolutely, sir. Very beautifully said, the way you spoke about the air conditioner. And I was just recalling, I'm talking about 80s. We were in the hostel and we didn't have an air conditioner. And now one cannot live without it. And I think that's where in schools also, air-conditioned schools, of course, now it's become like a necessity. But I think somewhere we are reducing the children's immunity. They are not playing outside and they fall more unwell. Like I always say, Indians are very tough because हम कोई भी पानी पी लेते हैं, हम कैसा भी खाना खा लेते हैं, हमारा body is tough. Yeah. So I think what you said is a very important point. Like let children grow close to nature. I think their immunity will be much higher. Which like you spoke about the mosquitoes, and the minute you said, see, it's all in the mind, sir. It's a funny thing, but the minute you said, I wanted to scratch, I said, oh God, some mosquito. It's all in the mind. It's beautiful, sir. Very nice.
But with that, I would also say something else. There's a very disturbing trend I'm noticing today outside. And therefore, I've taken very concrete step for myself.
Mhm.
The disturbing trend is people in the 70s and 80s, right? They now start getting food from outside. They stop cooking. There's too
Yeah.
much work. I mean, you just have to pay 2,000 to 3,000 rupees and somebody is delivering 3 meals a day, right? I think if you give up walking and cooking your own food, you have let go of something very capable, vital in you.
Yeah.
You have to cook your own food. Because when you cook your own food, your requirements adapt to what your body needs. When somebody cooks, then you say, this is the menu. Now I need variety. Yesterday we had this. We can't have the same thing today. You can dictate all that. From a very young age, this needs to be done. So today, more and more with industry flooding you with ready to eat and everything, right? Not only is it health-wise, it is, those things are terrible. At one level, that is. But apart from that, we are building a prison for ourselves. Because we don't know how to make our own chapati dal, and that's all that you need, actually. So our wants have expanded. And with that pain, when wants expand, pain must, suffering must come. Want and suffering go together. How do you address want? Only by
No, you're right.
With this, it reminds me, I read a book recently named Lifespan by David Sinclair. It's a very famous professor in Harvard. So yeah, now he talks about like the importance of fasting and how like getting into comfort zone really make us sick, and getting sick again and again reduces the lifespan. So if you want to live longer and younger, you have to put your body in conditions where it feels like it has to survive. So it has to be put into survival mode. So you feel hunger, you keep fast, so the body fighter cells stay activated, and they feels like they feel that somebody is killing you, or maybe you may get killed, so they stay activated. And the more you put yourself into comfort zone, all the fighter cells like go into sleep mode, and they feel like everything in the world is like okay and fine, and they don't have to do any work. And then you feel more sick and more and more, and then you die quicker. And it's an amazing book, and that is what like Shalini ma'am and sir was exactly talking
Yes,
about.
sir, and
Sir,
to what you said, Shakil, I want to add, I meet a lot of people. I'm a fitness addict because I feel in life, and it's been like that from past 30 years. I believe that, we all live for our body. We have to take care of our body. So, and how can people not give even 40 minutes in a day to look after your body? And I meet people who say, nahi, time hi nahi hai. I feel everybody has 24 hours. And if you can take out, half 40 minutes for your walk or run or exercise, I think it's very important to develop that, what you said, Shakil, for a healthy life, healthy mind. And as Sir said, it's important that you need to focus on that. I mean, imagine an unfit principal telling children to be fit. I mean, come on, So I'm sure Priyanka will agree with me.
100%. I personally feel that as an educator also, it becomes our duty also at the same time, what we are discussing,
Absolutely.
to imbibe this quality from the very beginning. So
Sure.
when in morning assembly, when I see that students are unable to stand for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and they're fainting down in morning assemblies, I don't know, after 2 years, when not 2.5 years, when they'll be coming back to school, what is going to be the condition? Earlier also, it was like students are half of the time fainting down in assemblies. So definitely, it is a big thing. And I think as an educator, it becomes our responsibility to educate parents also.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Educate parents to have a fitter body. But then that is now intermittent fasting and all these things have come. My question, sir, is that how good it is when we're talking about food, that how good it is to go, taking a link from Shakil, what he said, how good it is that keeping your body in discomfort. Is it a good idea to keep your body in discomfort? Or is it a good idea that like fasting for a longer hours, how good it is? We can have a very balanced food, I think. I don't know what Shakil said. I really don't go with that.
In Kannada, there is a local saying, if you eat once a day, you're a yogi. You eat twice a day, you're a bhogi. You eat 3 times a day, you're a roki. So actually, the human being needs one meal a day.
Yeah.
One, right? If you have a dog and you are very conscious about it, the dog gets one meal a day, right?
Absolutely.
Because the digestive system needs only to be given once a day. We have got into a habit of continuous eating. And the greater the stress, the more the eating. And it's not even the meal, it's the in-between snacking that creates a problem.
Yes.
And we can't stay out of it, right? So we don't see that snacking is actually raising our level of discomfort. I will suggest you just follow through one experience of fasting.
Yeah.
Sir, I do fasting. I do fasting.
Not intermittent fasting.
No,
But
otherwise
you're not
I also
fasting.
go for fastings. I go for fasting, but just suddenly I was thinking, recently I have been thinking that how good is the idea? I personally, I love going for a fasting, and I would say that twice a day I take a meal, not once a day. I cannot think, frankly speaking. Once I'm working in a school, it becomes really difficult. I cannot think of having once yogi. It's looks like a long still a journey to reach there.
I also
But
feel
then-
that the body tells us, we need to
Yes,
listen to our body.
Exactly.
Like I have my
Exactly.
experience, and I always say when we take the first helping, actually that is somehow it's God's creation. It's enough for us. The second helping which we take is greed, and that makes us actually our stomach upset. So I think, I never believe in fasting. I believe like eating, enjoying the day today, because who knows, tomorrow I may not be able to eat samosa. So I feel I like to eat, but I like to exercise, give my body 1.5 hours to burn up those calories. But I'm sorry, Priyanka, I can't do those intermittent fasting. I can't. I can't do it. I can keep 2-3 fasts, like maybe, which are like mandated by religion, but not otherwise.
No,
No, I also don't do
wait.
intermittent fasting.
I'm not talking of fasts which are mandated by anybody, religion
Okay.
or otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm only saying if you just study the human digestive system,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to go through a 24-hour cycle,
Okay.
right? So the time and if you keep pushing in food, that cycle gets disturbed. Just from understanding how the digestive system works, fasting is allowing the time that food that has been taken in has to be completely completed.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't allow that, and that invites ill health.
Absolutely.
And Priyanka ma'am, that research David Sinclair is doing also suggests not just about the food, putting your body into discomfort, like getting like extreme cold shower and hot shower. So that also, because we have been surviving these stages in our, this is what we've learned in our survival skills. So why you have to run and feel breathless every day? Because this is how you have been surviving, right? So when when we were only hunters, so we used to run for hunting. So these are all our survival skills. So, and we have just stopped doing it. And that's how the body feels that everything in the world is fine. And the cells don't have to fight any disease. Everything is fine. But the disease comes. And then the sugar and the other thing, and they actually kill you. So this was all about
that. 3 years ago, before this coronavirus, 10 of us had gone up to Gomukh, right? And Gomukh was freezing. We were there that night, and we went down to the river and filled up the bottles, and our hands froze in that, just filling up the water bottles. We wanted to take Ganga Jal back. And there was a young group of people over there, and one fellow was a little suspicious, looking at him, he's getting tensed and ready. And suddenly threw out his shirt, took one jump into the river and came back. See, that determination, to get into water that cold. But see, the conviction was so strong, he kept aside everything else, went into that cold water, came out. And actually, even in Rishikesh, if you get into the water, it's cold. But once you have got in, then the cold, where was it cold?
Very true. Very true.
It's all
Even
in the
in
mind,
winters,
sir.
cold winters also, when you get into Rishikesh and get into that Ganga water, it's just so pleasant that you really don't realize that it's cold, It's just, that's a conditioning of a mind. That's what exactly you have been talking about, that how you condition your mind.
Yeah.
So it's all about that. You were
So-
saying, Shadi ma'am, something.
No, I said I perfectly agree with you. I mean, I was a mountaineer. I mean, of course, I got married to South Indian. Then he said, no mountaineering. But I'm sir from Punjab. I'm married to a Keralite. And I did the basic course. And when you spoke of Gomukh, so we climbed to Rudragera, in Uttarakhand now. And I remember it was like as Priyanka said, at the last stretch when we were about to reach we were 40 girls and out of that 25 gave up. And I always believe that it's that last bit, that's where you have to make up your mind. No, I can do it. We were freezing, we were cold, we were miserable. And I think what Priyanka said, it's all in the mind, and what you said, it's all about mind and how do we train. And that's one part we don't talk about in school. We just say, open your mind, we'll give you knowledge. We keep filling. We don't let them exercise, I mean, I think children should play Sudoku, children should play crossword, where they are able to exercise their mind when they are young, rather than just all the time absorbing what the adult is speaking. So absolutely.
True. But I would also like to say that doesn't mean that nobody should apply for a competitive exam. You compete. But if the fact is that you have got the 10,000 rank, okay, that's a fact. Yeah. That's neither a confirmation of my intelligence or my stupidity. Absolutely. It just says there are 9,999 who scored more than me. Sure. That's the fact, right? That doesn't make me anything. I'm different. I am what I am. Yeah. So somewhere intelligently learning to meet this competitive situation. Competitive because there will never be enough openings for the number of candidates who come in. There's always a filter. But that filter is applied for some other reason. It's not a judgment on me. The moment I take it as a judgment on me, then I'm in suffering.
True.
Another thing which is coming to my mind these days we see that the students when she was talking about we need to teach them, students doesn't have the way we are pampering our students, the way they are brought, they don't have resistance to pain. A small little episode in their life, a small little situation in their life, and they are devastated. They're really devastated. So I personally feel we need to, when we talk about pain and misery, we need to train our students down the lane somewhere from the roots, from the roots. We need to take them through those certain situations where they realize that pain and suffering are part and parcel, and they are part and parcel of our existence, So that's what I personally feel, that kind of a training in our education system, that kind of, again, going back to it's in a complete ecosystem. I cannot say that just the students can be done. It has to be in a complete ecosystem, that we need to train our parents' fraternity. We need to train our teachers above all. It has to be a complete package.
True.
It is not going to, yes.
True. But that's a very harsh method. That's what army boot camps do, right? And we are not suggesting boot camp is the only way. I would suggest a gentler approach, which is very easy. Instead of just living inside the bubble of your school, right? All of us eat once a day. When we have a meal, we'll share our meal with somebody outside. Yeah. This midday meal program that is running, it's actually a great program, but we do it in isolation, right? Can we adopt just a small group outside our compound wall and say that, look, when we eat, we'll see that they also eat. And students get into that act of actually going and distributing the food, serving the food. There's something about serving food to somebody who's hungry. Now, that's an experience which is a life-changing experience. They never get to see it. So I think in very gentle ways, one can just open out. The environment is all around us. There's no dearth of opportunity.
What you said, very important, and what Priyanka said. I feel community work should become an integral part of the curriculum. Take the children out and give them 2 days where they just explore, where they help. So I think those values of empathy and sustainability will automatically come. You're right, sir.
So we had a very lively discussion. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We overshot our time. Also.
Yeah, exactly. So we closed by 7, but it's such a like interesting discussion and lively panel. So thank you very much, Priyanka ma'am and Shalini ma'am, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was
And,
a pleasure being here.
next
Thank you.
week will be our last episode, and those who are watching us on YouTube, we'll see you again on next week. And in case anybody wants to share this video with their friends, family, or anybody you feel this video may be interesting for them, so you can just simply copy the link and it will stay there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.